Hello again. Over the last 15 years or so, something very strange has occurred in Britain. Talking to young women suggests that many, perhaps most of them, have been brainwashed by some peculiar cult. They use strange jargon which one never hears from ordinary people. They talk of being othered or of having agency and so on. The great majority of them appear to have swallowed hook, line and sinker the orthodox narrative when it comes to changing sex, for example. And if you should happen to express any doubts about the idea of a man turning into a woman just because he puts on a frock and changes his name to Mary, most modern young women will look at you with horror and disgust. You must be transphobic and a hate monger. What is curious is that young men, by and large, do not seem to have been radicalised in the same way. Of course, they either keep their mouths shut or perhaps give lip service to the weird ideology that their girlfriends come out with, but you can tell their heart isn't in it. They think, like the rest of us, that most of this stuff is nuts, but are wise enough to keep their opinions to themselves. In short, it seems to many of us that young British women have become radicalised, been drawn into an awful culture which believes stuff that is obviously and manifestly mad. I find this ironic in the extreme, because all the concern these days seems to be about young men becoming radicalised, either by watching videos featuring Andrew Tate, or viewing pornography, or sometimes by following dubious YouTube channels run by ageing members of the alt-right. This morning we learned in the news, for instance, that sexism is on the rise in British schools. Why? Because it seems that boys are watching aggressive and violent pornography and influencer content that completely distorts their view of women. You see, it's those wretched boys again, being adversely affected by influence on YouTube and TikTok. The strange preoccupation of girls with left-wing lunacy doesn't appear to be seen as a problem in quite the same league, you will observe. In the description to this video, I give a link to a news item about this alarming business of boys becoming brainwashed by pornography and people like Andrew Tate. I wonder if any viewers who come into contact with young women have noticed this trend, and also spotted that boys generally seem immune to the loopy left-wing ideas which have such a grip on their sisters and girlfriends. My personal impression is that the younger generation of women in this country are victims of a cult, but it is one about which nobody ever wishes to speak, and which is never mentioned in the newspapers or on television.